Politics got you down? Is your team in last place? Is your significant other sleeping with your neighbor? Well, cheer up. The Julio Rivera Show is on. Deal with your problems afterwards.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, hit it!
We are controlling transmission.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The Julio Rivera Show is on.
And popping on this Thursday, August 25th, 2016, smack dab in the middle of the most important election in history. Yesterday we had some statements that were taken as a shock by some people, not by me. If you read my article in Right Wing News a couple of months back, I detailed that this was in the cards, that this was going to happen, there was going to be a reversal, and it actually started in late July with some of the quotations from Mr. Trump. We're going to get into that later with my buddy Lee Elci, host of the Lee Elci Show on 94.9, New London, Connecticut, my old stomping grounds from when I was in the United States Navy, in the Groton submarine base where I was stationed during the Clinton administration in the mid to late 90s. We have the world famous Stump for Trump girls, Diamond and Silk. But we're going to get started right away with a huge guest. He is the creator of Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party. And it is an absolute honor and privilege to have this man on. Good evening to Dinesh D'Souza. How are you this evening?
Hey, it's good to be on the show. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, fantastic. For those that don't know, you've produced several important documentaries regarding, the United States history, and this one in particular. And I was just watching the trailer earlier. Is particularly interesting because we have, I think, a society right now, especially when it comes in terms of millennials and people who have been, I guess, taught in our educational system, in particular in the last 50 years, they kind of have a skewed history of the way that things have really happened in this country. The perception has long been that the Republican Party is a racist party. They ignore the true history of their own Democrat Party. And a lot of people don't know, the KKK started by the Democrats. The 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is not that long ago, filibustered by the Democrats and passed with not a lot of Democrat support. It was really the Republicans that were the driving force into getting that bill passed. The Equal Rights Amendment with women in the 1950s, Dwight Eisenhower actually tried to pass an Equal Rights Amendment during the 1950s, and he was blocked by Senate Democrats. Example after example. How much blame do you actually put on the educational system, which is very liberal, in creating this mindset that people have right now in popular opinion?
Yeah, the progressive Democrats dominate academia, Hollywood, and the media. And those are three of the biggest megaphones in our culture. So you can put out an awful lot of propaganda, an awful lot of disinformation. And even if someone knows differently, they don't have a big enough megaphone to be able to contest this in the public arena. So as a result, we've gotten a very skewed view of American politics, not because of outright lying, but just because of the fact that the progressives downplay inconvenient facts. And they tend to create a false narrative that benefits themselves.
Okay, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who kind of mapped out this supposed great society, which has actually become what I like to refer to as economic enslavement of minorities and the poor in our country. There's a famous, or infamous, I actually like to call it, quote, back in the days where I'm not going to repeat the exact quote, but he was saying in the passage of this great society that he was going to have a certain group, or the blacks, voting Democrat for like the next 200 years. And there's a lot of other examples, in history, as far as how the Democrats have kind of conned minorities and continue to con minorities into thinking that they're taking care of them when what they've really done is they've destroyed the black family. They've de-incentivized family staying together, marginalized the father's role. Why do you think, and I understand that, academia and the media and all of that, but why are they so effective in doing it generation after generation? We have generational poverty, people that mothers give birth, to daughters, and and the one thing with the welfare system is we've seen that, for a long period of time, the more kids you have, the more money you get. This is ridiculous. I mean, what can Republicans do to kind of use their megaphone, whatever megaphone they have at this point, to try to combat what the media has? I mean, you made a great movie. I'd love to see every Democrat in this country that doesn't understand this actually go out and watch this movie. But besides that, what kind of strategy do you think that we need in this last 75 days, up ticket, down ticket, to try to swing this election in the favor of the Republicans?
Well, I think the most effective thing for Trump or the RNC or the super PACs to do would be to take DVDs of Hillary's America, which will be available 1 month before the election, and send them to the 4 to 5 million swing voters in about 9 states who are likely to decide the election. A movie is a very powerful way, right in the privacy of your own home, to see not just information. People don't really want messaging. They don't really want, dumb commercials playing one after the other until their minds get numbed. They want to actually see a story. They want to experience the American story in a fresh way. So this movie does that. It typically has the whole audience in the theater applauding. It's very powerful with independence. So, I don't have the resources to put this movie in front of all those people, but Trump does, and the RNC does, and the super PACs do. So if they actually are serious about winning the election, they're going to spend an awful lot of money in all the other ways to try to do it. This is a very effective way they should consider.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with that 150%. It's unfortunate that we live in a society that's so dumbed down. I mean, I myself personally am from the inner city originally. I was one of those default Democrats, so to speak. Up until the time where I joined the military, once I joined the private sector and I started to learn a little bit more about the way the real world works, that started to break me out of that mentality. What happened yesterday was a shock to a lot of people, as far as the whole immigration issue. And I don't want to get too much into that. I really want to focus in on the movie. Tell me, what do you think, speaking to Black America specifically for right now, what are some of the more important things that are in the movie that you feel that would maybe change their mind specifically and maybe bring about what the real emotion that they should have against their supposed party, which is anger?
I think if you ask most Black Americans, which is the party of slavery, of segregation and Jim Crow, of lynching and the Ku Klux Klan, and of opposition to the civil rights movement of the 1960s, they would almost certainly say it's the Republican Party. That, of course, is untrue. It's the opposite of the truth. It is the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party is the opposite. The Republican Party is the party of emancipation, of fighting segregation. The GOP outlawed the Ku Klux Klan in the KKK acts of the 1870s. The more Republicans voted proportionately for the civil rights laws of the 60s than Democrats did. So this is the actual history. But the reason I emphasize the movie is it's one thing to say this. It's another thing to even put it in a book and argue for it with appropriate footnotes. That can settle the argument intellectually, but emotionally people still feel, well, gee, the Democrats appear to be the party of the little guy. They appear to sympathize with the ordinary man and the Latino and the immigrant and the black. So it's necessary. A movie is able to appeal to the head and the heart. And that's why I say it's such a deadly weapon in this powerful election debate.
Yes, absolutely, and I agree 100%. And there was I read something recently. Actually, it might have been a little while ago, where I believe in the state of Florida, did they make one of your films like part of the school curriculum, or they were saying that they wanted children to watch this movie because it was so important?
Well, there was a legislator named Hayes who was pushing that in Florida. To be honest, I don't quite know what happened to it. And I do think that longer term, it's very important for conservatives not to allow the left to have this dominance that it does in Hollywood, in the media, and in academia. So anything that we can do to plant a kind of rival flag in those territories is going to be very helpful, and I'm trying to do my part to do that.
You know what it is? I think it boils down to, in order to do it, you kind of have to reverse the mentality, because I think that the Democrats do it by pandering, quite simply by pandering. And I think that the Republicans, like, I look at it like this: the Constitution is supposed to apply equally to all sexes, all races, all genders, whatever, and the Democrats always want to break people off into little sections, and they want to say, well, we're going to do this for Latinos, we're going to do this for blacks, when really they should be applying the same opportunity and the same structure to everyone. I mean, I believe personally, affirmative action in its basis is a racist thing. You're basically saying, well, blacks or Latinos or minorities are not good enough to achieve the same level as whites, so we have to throw them this bone. What are your thoughts on affirmative action and some of the other programs?
Well, I think there's a deeper truth here, and that is that the Democrats created these old rural plantations for slavery. And what they did was they stole the labor of many, many generations of blacks. Essentially, that's what slavery is. It's a form of theft. You're forcing another guy to work for you for free for his whole life. Now, the Democrats have created these new urban plantations, not just for blacks, but reservations for the native Indians, and ghettos and barrios and slums for Hispanics and Latinos. But now they don't care about labor. In fact, they don't want you to work. Now they care about your votes. And in order to get your vote, they have to keep you in a position of suspended dependency. Because if they gave you real self-reliance, you would get out of the ghetto, you'd dust yourself off and walk off, and you wouldn't need the Democratic Party anymore. So this has nothing to do with pandering. It basically has to do with a bunch of crooks who were able to essentially exploit people one way 150 years ago and exploit those same people, in fact more people now, just using a different tactic.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? You have a real mentality, an entitlement mentality in those communities, unfortunately, because of the way that they've been conditioned since, the expansion of government and social programs. You have people sitting around now believing that these people alive today, no one that's alive today was ever a slave. No white person that's alive today has ever owned a slave, but you still have minorities and blacks in particular walking around feeling like they're owed reparations, or that somehow society owes them something for injustices that they were never the victim of.
Now, let me qualify that argument slightly, because I do think that the Democratic Party does owe them. And what I mean by that is that the Democratic Party, this is the group that actually brutalized them. So, when you're talking about reparations, you have to be very careful and put the blame on the people who actually did it. Now, simply to say that there's no one alive now who owned a slave doesn't quite work. Imagine, for example, if there was, art, priceless art that had been stolen in the Nazi regime by the Nazis, and the Nazis then bequeathed that art to their kids and then on to their grandkids. Wouldn't Jewish families that own that art be justified today in getting it back? It doesn't matter that the guy says, well, I'm not a Nazi, I just got these benefits handed down to me. So my point is this: the Democrats have done horrible things through American history. They have very cleverly taken those things and blamed them on the South, blamed them on America, blamed them on the white man, blamed them on the Republican Party. All lies. They did it. Now, my point is they've never acknowledged it. They've never apologized for it. They never made any restitution for it. When the Republicans tried to pass reparations in the 1860s, 40 acres and a mule, the Democrats killed it. So black people should be furious at the Democratic Party and demanding reparations if they're deserved directly from the Democrats.
Okay, but how would that be possible then if we take them out of power? What possible mechanism could be created where those supposed reparations can be accommodated?
Well, certainly the first step of throwing the Democrats out of power would be a very good starting step, because these people have no moral authority to rule. They claim to have this big fund of moral capital. We did the civil rights movement. We did it. So this is all a big farce, and it's all a big joke. So this alone would be a big step forward. And I agree. Look, as a practical matter, what people need today is not reparation so much as they need ladders of opportunity. I think that if you brought ladders of opportunity, if Trump could bring ladders of opportunity to the inner city, where you gentrify the place, you have Starbucks, you have lofts, you have all kinds of new businesses opening up, that would be the greatest boon that you could give Black America.
Okay, and I think my position is this. I didn't initially, obviously support him, but I think that economically, the Republican Party has always been obviously the party of opportunity, the party that wants to take the foot off of the neck of the producers and actually let the free market grow. I think you need to bring that to the inner city in particular, so that they can create jobs, incentivize businesses coming into those tough areas so that they can, give jobs to the poor. And, because right now, the black unemployment under Barack Obama has grown in particular. And in addition to that, average median income has actually declined under Democrats. So everything that they supposedly promise, they actually spit in the face of, and they actually don't deliver on anything that they ever do actually promise. So going forward economically in those areas in particular, what type of policies would you like to see installed that can give either a boost or a jump start to that?
Well, I think the two most important policies would be first in the area of education, a reform of the education system, focusing on giving parents real choices. Ultimately, the way to reform education isn't just to say this should be the curriculum or that's the way we do it, but rather to encourage what Hayek called a framework of competing utopias, a whole bunch of different experiments. And when you allow parents to act as sort of customers in the market, then they're going to be able to choose what education is best for their kid. And second, economic opportunity, and that actually means the availability of new forms of credit, new ways of making it easy to start a business, and service not only the inner city, but also figure out ways to service the surrounding suburbs, because very often that's where the money is. And so this is the way we begin to see green shoots of opportunity emerging in our inner cities.
Fantastic. And listen, I just want to give everybody the opportunity that if they are listening in and they're interested, how can people go out and get your movie? Where can they find you? Give us all your contact information so people can get educated regarding your film and the very important message that you're promoting.
So there's a film, Hillary's America, and an accompanying book of the same title. The film is actually fading in theaters now, but will be re-released in about 500 theaters in September. The website is Hillary'sAmericaTheMovie.com. You can plug in your zip code. It'll tell you where it's playing. The book is available in Costco, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. It's at the top of the New York Times bestseller list. So go look for the movie. If you can't find it right now, go get the book. But keep an eye out for the movie in September, and it'll be out in DVD home box office in October.
All right, and Donald Trump, if you're listening, go out and buy millions of copies and distribute them in those swing states so we can get the White House back in November. Dinesh D'Souza, God bless you. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for appearing on my program. It's been a true honor.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All righty, and that was Dinesh D'Souza, the great Dinesh D'Souza, joining us this evening. What a pleasure, and I hope that you guys really take heed and listened and go out and get a copy of that movie. On the other side of the break, my buddy Lee Elci will be joining us. Don't go anywhere.
Politics got you down? Is your team in last place? Is your significant other sleeping with your neighbor? Well, cheer up. The Julio Rivera Show is on. Deal with your problems afterwards.
Hi, I'm Adam Marr, Apache helicopter pilot and COO of the Warrior Angels Foundation, a 501c3 with a superior treatment for our veterans suffering with TBI and PTS. We have found a solution that pinpoints and treats the underlying condition and are providing that solution for veterans across the nation, but we need your help. Go to waftbi.org to find out more. That's waftbi.org.
controlling transmission.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The Julio Rivera Show is on.
And popping on this Thursday, August 25th, 2016. You just heard Dinesh D'Souza. And I was so nervous for that interview. And I apologize if I sounded a little bit like out of sorts or whatever, but it's not that often that you have such a legendary figure on your show. And right now I'm going to segue right into another legend, my buddy Lee Elci. How are you this evening, buddy?
Man, what a good job. What a big interview. How'd you get that one? That was great.
I'm just a lucky fool, I guess. I have no idea how I got it. You are a legend in your own right, the host of the Lee Elci Show on 94.9 in New London, Connecticut. I've been on your show before. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm very excited to talk to you because there's so much stuff going on today. Today was the day that I knew was coming. I mean, I talked about this for a long time, obviously, when I was not supporting Donald Trump. I knew because I am analytical enough to listen to quotations and figure out and read between the lines. There was going to be legalization. And if you believed anything otherwise, if you were just falling for the rhetoric, you know, I apologize to you. I'm still supporting Donald Trump based on economic issues. I have foreign policy and safety of the country and all that. But what's your reaction to social media and the country's reaction to what was said last night?
Well, as far as Trump goes and those policies, I mean, I think anything and everything is in flux. And I think he sort of realized that what the initial plan was, if there even was one, it's nearly impossible to do. You can't go out and deport 15 million people or 20 million people. You financially can't do it. Forget about...
No. See, I disagree with that. It was done effectively in the 50s. I mean, I think that if you investigate, I think if you go in there with the intention to actually do it, it's not going to happen overnight. But I mean, I think it's a cooperative effort between building the wall, because I'm disappointed by that. I actually did want the mass deportations. And I know people look at me sometimes crazy because I'm Latino myself, but I believe I'm American first, and opportunities should go to Americans first. I think it can be done. I'm not saying that it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but why can't we at least try to do it? Even if you don't do it 100%, even if it only works for 30% of the people that are here, I still think that's giving opportunities back to Americans. At least, 3 to 5 million more Americans would have opportunities in that scenario.
Well, I guess here's my response to that is this. You've got, let's put it this way, it'd be very difficult to go out and round up 15 million. I think there are better ways to do this. I 100% agree that there should be a strong border presence. If it's a wall, fine. I got no issue with that, but you've got to stop the flow of illegals coming in through the Mexican border. I'm on board 100% with that. I think, though, a better plan would be to set a date in the future, whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, and you call everybody out. You say, if you've been here and you've been living in the shadows for however long it has been, you've got until January 1st, 2018 to come forward. If you don't come forward, now you're a fugitive of the state, and we'll send ICE out to get you. When they get you, I don't care if you got 5 kids draped off your dress. I'm sending you home. But I think that if you and never give people who are here a chance for citizenship, you can give them a chance to work. So I think there's a way around that where everybody sort of comes out a winner. I just think I don't think Trump really has a plan in place. I think he just says things. He says things that get people to react, and then he goes with it. Do you think he's got a real legitimate immigration plan?
I don't know, but I mean, my question is, if he's going to go ahead and broadcast a date like that, is he going to do it in Espanol as well as in English? I mean, you figure if they're going to produce literature, if they're going to be driving around with megaphones, getting the word out, they're going to have to employ bilingual people. And if you're going to employ bilingual people, I guess the cheaper route would be to employ illegals to do that as well. So
listen, you've got to be tough. I don't think there's any question about that. And I also am on board because I was thinking and listening to a couple of shows today, and there's no way that voting should be printed out in any other language but English.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different avenues that you can start to attack this immigration problem. Listen, I'm not a softie. I want immigration to get under control, but I think just as a conservative person, financially, I just don't know if it's possible. If you attach a fine to anybody who's living here, if you set certain criteria to allow them to continue to work. Never be a citizen unless they want to go back out and wait in line again. But I think there's a way to go about this that would have been a smarter move. Now, Trump sort of looks wishy-washy. He looks like, he hasn't made anybody happy. The hardcore folks, they're ticked off. And the guys who are on the other side, they're laughing at him. So I think this was a no-win for him.
Well, I think, and I have to dispute that in a sense, I think economically it behooves us to take up the upfront cost to get people out, because when they stay here, their children, the children of their children, that's the cost is just insane when you consider the cost of public education. By the time they're legalized, you figure that they're going to be eligible for social programs. I think we save money by putting forth the upfront cost to do it. Listen, Dwight Eisenhower did it back in the 50s, and he got millions of people out here. In addition to that, I think that on the other side, what you do is you sanction the people that are hiring this illegal labor to the point where they're not going to take the risk in doing it. Because what winds up happening is, self-deportation in a sense is a real concept. Like, I believe in self-deportation if you sanction the people that are creating the want for these people to be here. If there's no money here, they're going to leave. Believe me.
No question.
They're here for the opportunity only.
I would agree with that, and I would also agree with hammering the businesses that are hiring illegals. You hit the source. I totally agree with that, and I like the idea, too. I mean, I like the fact that you have the background that you have, and you're so hardcore, because I'm surprised that more people with your background aren't mad, because what's going on is they've come in here legally and set their roots legally, and folks who have kind of hidden in the shadows, they're actually sort of like wearing away. It's erosion at their stability. So it's impressive to hear somebody with such a gung-ho attitude. I don't necessarily know if it's fiscally possible, or even if it makes sense, or even if we could actually do the 10, 15, 12, 20 million people. But I like the idea of the gung-ho-ness that you got.
Thank you so much, Lee. But I mean, I like, even if we don't, like I said, like, part of it is if we don't get them all out, if we at least make a concerted effort to try, we can reduce the numbers. And not only that, we won't get anybody, but there's a fear. There's an intimidation that comes along with making the effort that, like I said, that self-deportation is a real thing. If you put all the mechanisms in place between hurting the employers, between just having them, if they know that, if there's a large group of a lot of illegals somewhere, people could report them. They'll see the ICE. And they were talking about tripling border security, tripling the immigration. If you triple those agencies, I think you wind up saving a lot more money in the long run. I really, truly believe that. The cost of educating a child in the public school system, especially now, because there's so many places that subsidize child care for, early education. If you take somebody, let's say from when they're 2, subsidized for child care up through kindergarten, up through 12th grade, it's like $1 million per kid. So if you're talking about millions of kids, I mean, do the math. That's insane. I mean, I would definitely.
So now you're talking.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
you go. No, I'm just saying, now you're talking about all kinds of different levels of issues and problems that we need to attack. No question about that. All of these programs that are costing taxpayers, again, hundreds of billions of dollars. But I'll tell you, if you find every single person $10,000 who's here illegally, in order to stay, you got to pay a $10,000 fine, even if it's over the course of 15, 20 years. You're talking about $150 billion right there. So listen, I think there are different ways around it, and I think the conversation should be had, and I do think a wall should be built, or at least much stricter security should be put forth on the border, even a military presence, high-tech presence, the tunnel presence, all of that stuff, not only just to stop illegals, but also to stop terrorists from coming in, and also to stop drugs from coming in. That's all a win-win. I'm on board with you on that.
Yeah, you know what's one of the things that's underreported, and it was talked about a little bit last year, but there was the infestation of the Chagas bug, which is and there's this is something that again you can, everybody who's listening right now, Google Chagas, Chagas. It's a disease that's coming into our country through a bug. It's almost like Zika, but I guess there's differences obviously. This bug is coming up from people in South America are bringing this up, and it's coming into our country. There's estimated tens of thousands of cases of this sickness, and this is something that's directly attributable to this, the migration of people from South America into our country. It's exponentially more expensive to go ahead and allow this open border thing. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up is based on Trump and his loud megaphone. And, he's covered not only in the United States, but the world press is on top of what he's saying and what he's doing at all times. Do you think that him making that proclamation yesterday regarding, the way he's going to handle the situation, do you think that he just endangered us potentially? Because he just sent, in my mind, analyzing what happened, a message around the world saying, come now and get in here now because you're going to be able to stay under him.
Are we in? No, I don't think that would endanger us immediately. Otherwise, folks would be making their way here now anyway. They would. I mean, anybody who wants to come here wants to come here as fast as possible. So I don't know if it's him saying what he said yesterday is a hurry up approach for folks to get here. Because listen, I think people are going to get. If they can get here, they're going to get here. But I don't know if yesterday's proclamation did that. I think what yesterday's proclamation did is the hardcore folks like yourself who are 100% huge wall, everybody out. Let's start over from there. You've got to be mad today. I'm assuming you're kicked off today. So is a big chunk of his base because he was really running on kick everybody out, big wall, Mexico pays for it, blah blah blah, jobs back. I think yesterday hurt him when it comes to that.
Well, no, you know what? That was the point that I was making all day because people were trying to rub it in my face. They were trying to do the nah thing with me. And I was like, listen, I wrote an article in Right Wing News back in April. You guys can look it up. It's called Buyer Beware, 11 million reasons for conservatives to rethink Trump. And the article touched on this. He reversed course last summer. I knew that this was coming. I'm still with Trump because for foreign policy reasons, I'm with him for the reason of the refugees. I'm with him for the Supreme Court. I'm with him for the Attorney General position. We got to end the lawlessness. I'm with him for, not only that, but the economic reasons. There's a lot of reasons to still back Trump despite this. I think, and you're absolutely right. I think the people that just really wanted to close the border, the one-issue voters, and there's a lot of people, and I can't really knock them. If you're a one-issue voter, just like there's liberals that are one-issue liberals, that it has to be about gay rights or women's rights or blah, blah, whatever it may be, there's a lot of conservatives that the immigration, the wall, that was their one issue. And Donald Trump got a lot of people that were disengaged off of the couch and got them back involved in the process based on that proclamation. So it doesn't hurt them with me. It doesn't hurt them with the pragmatic Republicans amongst us. It doesn't hurt us with the people who understand how evil Hillary Clinton is. But there is a certain segment of people that he is permanently damaged with now.
I think, though, you just hit on something that I was going to talk briefly about it. You talk about all the reasons why you're going to talk and vote for Trump. The real bottom line is you've got to stop the other side from getting in the office. Hillary Clinton is a terrible candidate. She's actually, she's an evil woman. And the thought of her running this country for 4 or 8 years and the damage that will be done, it's like a cataclysm type of an event. You've got to really be afraid of that. And not only that, but think about the fact that America is willing. We've kind of devolved to this place. We've got to this place now where we're willing to accept the fact that you're a liar and a cheat and a criminal and you're poison, and we're still going to elect you president of the United States. So for all of those things, Trump could be he could be I mean, to me, Trump is the only answer to stop her. I understand he's got flaws. I'm not a fan. I haven't been a fan from day one. But you give me a choice between the unknown in Trump and the possibility, or the known in Hillary Clinton and what she actually is. I mean, to me, it's not even close. I can't believe that there's anybody out there with any character or morals who will go into that voting booth and vote for Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. It's out of sheer ignorance, the low information vote, the people that believe the mainstream media. That's what it boils down to. And just to clarify, and everybody knows, I was a Cruz supporter, a major Cruz supporter up until, obviously the time ended. He ran his course. And unfortunately, we do find ourselves in that position. And you know what? You brought up a good point, the unknown of Trump. He has not spent one day in official capacity in government. And people try to say he's a crony capitalist. I don't believe that for a second, because his businesses are tied directly to his state. He wasn't a guy that was really, benefiting off of industrial corporate welfare and a lot of those things. Maybe on the small level, in a sense, he did maybe get some tax breaks. He got some favorable deals on local bonds and things like that. But he was at least creating jobs. So I do believe that he's at the very least, a capitalist-minded person. When Hillary Clinton 2 years ago said in a speech, "Don't let anybody tell you that the private sector creates jobs," I think that she disqualified herself with anybody who would ever want to start a small business or ever want to live outside of the scope of being taken care of by the government. And then you bring up the moral issue. Of course, anybody with any kind of basic moral fiber would never want to vote for someone like that.
She's absolute poison. They have been running this government for the past 2 decades, her and her husband, and to put her back in power, it's everything that's wrong with politics, everything that everybody complains about all the time while they're sitting around their dinner table, their coffee table, while they're sitting on a bar stool somewhere, when they're listening or calling in talk radio. This is the poison that everybody is complaining about. So this is a chance to do something about it. Again, this is coming from somebody who's not a Trump fan. I don't like Trump's egomania. I don't like the fact that Trump really doesn't present you with, I think, these different types of ideas to stop things. I don't think Trump is all that well versed on foreign policy and a lot of the issues. But the alternative is a snake. I don't want a snake in the grass in the White House. Like I said, I'll roll the dice all day long with the unknown that Trump brings and hope that he surrounds himself with really good, talented people and maybe just kind of break this cycle of the political kings and queens known as the Clintons.
Exactly, man. Lee, it's been a pleasure to have you. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Well, I appreciate that. I have been on the radio for a couple of decades, but the website you could listen, it's global, is 949newsnow.com. That's 949newsnow.com. We're also on TuneIn Radio. And if you're anywhere in the tri-state area, the signal's pretty strong, so you can get it that way as well.
All right, fantastic. God bless, Lee. Thanks for coming on, and I look forward to having you on in the future, my friend.
Julio, we got to get you on my show soon, and I appreciate it, buddy. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks.
No problem. You have a great night. And everyone, that was Lee Elci of the Lee Elci Show on 94.9 in New London, Connecticut. On the other side of the break, we will have the world-famous Diamond and Silk. Go nowhere.
You're listening to the number one source for political, pop culture, and sports talk on the radio. The Julio Rivera Show. #Conservarican. With no fuck left to give.
Find the Lanterns Radio Network on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes.
They can intercept this transmission at any time, so I'll be brief. The fight is here. The time is now. Go behind enemy lines.
YouTube, and other social media by searching keyword Lanterns Buzz or Lanterns Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Adam Moore, Apache helicopter pilot and COO of the Warrior Angels Foundation, a 501c3 with a superior treatment for our veterans suffering with TBI and PTS. We have found a solution that pinpoints and treats the underlying condition and are providing that solution for veterans across the nation. But we need your help. Go to waftbi.org to find out more. That's waftbi.org.
You're listening to the number one source for political, pop culture, and sports talk on the radio. The Julio Rivera Show. Hashtag Conservarican. With no fuck left to give.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, hit it!
We are controlling transmission.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The Julio Rivera Show is on.
And popping on this Thursday, August 25th, 2016. And the mega show continues. And I just want to kind of bring up a subject here. Every time that there's a major presidential campaign, every 4 years it happens. We know that. We know the way it works in this country. It goes without saying, so to speak. Every election kind of produces these pop culture phenomenons, these larger-than-life icons that people will remember for the rest of time, especially now with the internet, and everything is logged in metadata, and everybody knows everybody's business, and screw the federal government. I erase my cookies on my computer. Damn it. But right now, I've got the biggest pop culture phenomenon going on right now in this election. You know them, you love them, you've seen them on television, you hear them on radio. They're the world famous Stump for Trump girls. Diamond and Silk, how are you this evening?
Oh my God, we're wonderful. We hope you are doing well.
Oh, yeah. I am doing well. I'm very excited, as you can tell by my voice. I just tried to give you the proper build-up because, you know, you guys bring a lot of enthusiasm. You guys bring a lot of excitement. You guys are like, you know, you can't take your eyes off of you guys because you guys are great. Now, Donald Trump is kind of fighting a little bit of an uphill battle here, but I am confident that the minorities, the Latinos like myself, the black community, that we will all, coalesce around Mr. Trump as the true candidate for opportunity in this country. I come from the inner city. I see how hard it is for minorities. I want a president that's going to create jobs. I want a president that's going to help people get off of dependency programs and be able to be successful for themselves. Tell me, what is Donald Trump's best, strategy right here in the last 80 or so days to try to appeal to the inner city where a lot of Republicans generally don't?
Well, he's doing it.
That's right.
Stay on this message right here because it's really resonating. I mean, you know it's resonating when the left is talking different or the left is bashing every little thing he said, and they're doing that because they have no solutions. You know, and I'm just going to put it out there. Democrats nor Republicans, neither one have no solution. There's only one man that has a solution, and that's not afraid to address it, and that's Donald J. Trump. Mm-hmm. The mere fact that he called a thing that sets everything free. He told the naked, nasty truth. A lot of times they want to hear well-dressed lies. He don't lie. He is going to tell you the naked, nasty truth, and he is addressing problems, and they're real problems. So, yes, it's going to wake up minorities. It is going to wake up the African-American community because you know what they can say? What are they going to say? Well, he's telling the truth. Well, he's not lying about that. You see what I'm saying? That wakes them up, and it engages them. And now they don't have anybody on the left to try to hinder them because you have these black leaders on the left. They try to hinder you. You shouldn't vote this way. But they don't get to tell people who to vote for because none of those people have created jobs. None of those people are helping these people thriving. A lot of these movements and organizations is supposed to be for the advancement of colored people, and they're not advancing. And people are tired of staying stuck like Chuck. So, yes, they're going to give Donald Trump a try. They're even going to give him a vote.
All righty. And well-dressed lie. I love the way you put that because as a conservative myself, and I've been, you know, really going into like radio and television and all that for the last year, and I've noticed that you have Republicans or that they claim to be different than what you're getting from the left, but they're not really different. You know, they're in a lot of ways they're progressives. And the one thing I noticed is that Donald Trump is hated by the evil racist Democrats. He's hated by the rhino Republicans that believe in big government and they believe in trying to take care of everybody instead of letting people take care of themselves. So Donald Trump has all the right enemies as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. And remember now, he's an outsider. This is what makes it so great. He's an outsider, so he's not the career politician. He don't use the polished words. He's not well rehearsed. He's going to be working for the need of people. And you got these career politicians working for their own greed and not the need of people. He's going to be putting American people first, and that's what we love about him. So we believe that minorities are going to vote for him in droves. We believe it's going to be a bunch of Democrats voting for him, Republicans. We know that he's going to be the 45th president of the United States. Listen, if you look to the left, you look at how much money Hillary Clinton is spending to try to stop Donald J. Trump. They don't stop losers, but they will try and stop a winner. They're trying to stop him because really he's winning.
And you know what's crazy? Every Republican candidate at every level at some point is called a racist. That's what the left tries to stick on him all. He's a racist old white guy. That's what they always do. But you know what? People, if you look at Donald Trump's history, if you see what he did in Florida at the golf course, he made it so that golf course in Florida would allow Jewish people in, would allow black people in, and the community there was trying to fight him on it. So how is he the racist, you know?
Yeah, but see, what you got to understand, they just started calling him those names until he started running against Democrats. And instead of them calling him those names, what they should be doing, especially the media pundits, the ones that be up on national TV calling somebody a racist, look into your own communities. You know, it's so sad when I see black people on television calling somebody a racist. Systematic racism is in our own community. Address what's in the African American community first before get the matter out of your own eye is what I'm trying to say. Before you try to reach into somebody else's eye. There's systematic racism inside of our community where you bully and you criticize and you ostracize people of color when they want to vote different from what they've been voting because they want to thrive and come up. That's racism. So talk about the real racism and bigotry. Don't put that on Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump is a man that wants to make this place great again. A man that wants to bring back opportunities where people are thriving again. A man that wants to see people come up. Now, you got everybody on the left that's calling him out of his name. Those are the real racists because they don't want to see people come up. They want the same old, same old. They want these career politicians using these polished words, working for their own greed and not the need of people.
And you know what? There's a real big, and I call this out all the time because usually, you know, with what's been going on with Black Lives Matter and a lot of these other, I call them, you know, the false social justice movement. Seems to be a double standard with racism. You know, some people seem to believe that it's impossible for a minority to be racist. I wonder if you guys can just speak on that for a minute.
Well, I can speak on it, and then I'm going to let Silk talk, too. Well, let me speak on that. Racism exists in the African-American community. Just the other night, there was a light-skinned sister, African-American, that called two chocolate sisters, Diamond and Silk, out of their name on a national news network, okay? All right? Now, that's as racist as you get. Now, let me break that down. Let me break what's happening. Let me tell you what's happening so you understand. See, that Democratic plantation consists of the ones that work in the house, which is the light-skinned people, and then the ones that work in the fields, which is the dark-skinned people. And what's happening, you got a lot of them dark-skinned people out there in the fields, they say, you know what? I don't want to be on this Democratic plantation. I do want to vote different. I do want to thrive. And they're getting off of that Democratic plantation. And what's wrong with some of these light-skinned African Americans? They are afraid that they're going to have to go back out there in the fields because they choose to stay on the Democratic plantation because they don't want to see anybody else leaving it. So they're afraid they're going to have to go back out there and work the fields. So when I look at TV and I see an African American sister, light-skinned, talking about two chocolate girls, systematic racism exists in the African American community. So African Americans don't have no right to sit up and call nobody racist because they're hypocrites. It's in our own community. Because how is it that a light-skinned sister can call two chocolate sisters out of their names?
Yeah, that's actually very, very interesting. No, I just want to go ahead. I'm sorry, you were starting.
Oh, no, I was just basically agreeing. I mean, Diamond said it all. That she's absolutely, positively right. We have to take the mark out of our own eye. You know, we can't be going around here, running around here saying, oh, it's the white man, it's the white man. But you've got to check your own self, check your own house, sweep around your own front door, see what's going on within your own community, and check the racism that's going on within your own community before you go out and say this person is this and this person is that.
Or within your own self. Or within your own self. For you to sit on national TV, call somebody a racist, and in the same breath, you call your two black sisters now, because we black just like you are. You just lighter than we are. Under their names, and you're not racist. You the most biggest bigot and hypocritical person that we've ever seen. So you're the real racist, and you're the real bigot. And what bothers me is when I see other African Americans that want to be better and do better, but you have some of these they call them high sedity African Americans that already came, that's coming up, that get to live in a nice home, that live behind picket fences, don't want to see other African Americans come up. That bothers me. When I see these black leaders, how they coerce people into voting their way, just keep voting for the crumbs. Those people in Milwaukee was not burning down their community because of a black boy being shot. They was burning down their communities because they are tired of being in poverty. And thank God for somebody like Donald Trump, the only person in my lifetime that I've ever seen address it just the way he did. We've had the first African-American president. He won't even utter the words African-American, nor will he talk about the African-American community. He was from Chicago.
Exactly, yeah.
Did he reach back and help him?
No, of course not. Listen, black unemployment is up under Barack Obama. The black quality of life has gone down under Barack Obama. And every weekend in Chicago, where he's from, there are dozens of shootings, murders, black-on-black crime. Why aren't people addressing the real issue?
Because let me get the matter out of your eye, so that you won't see my nastiness. See, don't nobody want to talk about. They want to sugarcoat it, but up under that sugar is mess. Let's talk about the mess and let's clean that up so everybody can thrive again. I have to commend some African American people that are coming off that Democratic plantation that will be voting for Donald J. Trump because they love his message and they love what he's saying. But it just bothers me when I see these movements and organizations and these black leaders that try to keep people beneath them because they don't want them to come up. That bothers me. We've already given Democrats 8 years almost to do what they were going to do. They haven't done nothing. Hillary Clinton, she want to run for a house, run to your own house or the prison house, but not that White House. The Clintons don't get to play musical chairs with the presidency. You know and I know she's not going to do nothing for minorities. She's not even going to do nothing for America. She's not even worried about putting Americans first. Now, here she had a fundraiser. The other night she's at a fundraiser, but she couldn't even go down there and see about them people in Louisiana. But I'll tell you who did get up and go down there and see about him, our man Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States. That's what you call a true leader right there.
And let me ask you a question, right, because it's going to be a huge celebration when Donald J. Trump walks that aisle to the White House for the inauguration in January. What are you guys going to be doing? What are you guys going to be wearing? How are you guys going to be feeling? What's it going to be like January 2017 in D.C. Diamond and Silk style?
I don't know. I haven't even thought that far. I'm just like taking this day by day. Okay, we got 70-some days, 80-some days before our man get this here. So I've been focusing so much on just the campaign, on educating people. The more they throw hate, the more you have to educate. That's what we've been focusing on. Look, this is serious. This is real serious. Because if you don't vote right this time, you're going to get left again. You're going to get left, and we cannot continue to vote for the same system that keeps handing us crumbs. So I haven't thought about the inauguration yet. I haven't thought about it yet. But when Diamond and Silk step in the room, we're going to be fly.
It's really scary, though, just to touch on a serious note here. People that aren't politically involved, I was kind of, had the blinders on for a long time. That's obviously, especially coming from the inner city, that's probably one of the reasons why I was a Democrat for as long as I was. People don't realize the true evil of Hillary Clinton. They don't understand that she lied to the families of American heroes that died in Benghazi. The fact that she used the State Department and to enrich herself, making deals with countries that actually fund terrorism against the United States and against the nation of Israel. This is really serious stuff. People have to understand exactly the evil that we're letting into the White House if we don't get behind Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And then look at what she did yesterday, how she tried to blame the black man for her email scandal. You're going to blame Colin Powell. And she did it behind closed doors with the FBI. Mm-hmm. You know, wrong move. I'm so glad that Colin Powell came out and took up for himself. Don't blame the black man for that. Now, that's a form of racism to me. Because you don't blame him for your mess. Those are your scandals. You didn't know no better. You've been in public service all of these years, and you didn't know no better than the House emails or your private server. Shame on you, Hillary Clinton. Shame on you. But do not blame the black man for your mess.
Yeah, you know what's the sickest part about it? I don't know if you remember this, but she was asked by Fox News, Ed Henry, about the, wiping the server, and she made the stupid little remark, like, what do you mean, did I wipe it with a cloth? Wipe it with a towel? Like, when you consider the seriousness and how much she compromised the safety of Americans. Now, I just want to one more point.
Guess what now? But guess what? If you do something like that, now you're going to jail. See,
how
is it that citizens, real citizens, you're gonna be jailed for that. You're gonna be dealt with for that. But she just gets a pat on the wrist. It seems like the FBI is protecting her. You got the left-wing media protecting her. You got the Obama administration protecting her. Everybody is protecting Hillary Clinton. So my fear is, does she know something on somebody? Why all these people protecting her?
Yeah, because you know why? Because people keep winding up dead that have dirt on her. That's actually what it winds up. That's what it winds up being. Like, if you're at the upper levels of government and you have an opportunity to recommend an indictment or to start an investigation, you're going to take one look at her. You're going to take one look back at your kids and your family, and you're going to say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't go there. And that's unfortunate in this country, the freest country in the world, supposedly, that we have this sort of corruption. And it has to end, and it has to end with an outsider, with Donald J. Trump. I want you girls to tell everybody where they can get their Stump for Trump T-shirts and all that stuff. Tell them where they can get some.
Okay. You can get all of your Trump gear. We have the Women United for Trump T-shirts. Make sure you go and get one of those at diamondandsilkstore.com. That's diamondandsilkstore.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, girls. I'd love to having you. Please come back before the election.
We will.
We sure will.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. God bless, and thank you so much. That was Diamond and Silk, the world famous Diamond and Silk, on the Julio Rivera Show, #Conservarican. What a show!